Looking for a Prebuilt gaming PC that makes sense on Amazon? In this Value Finds Top 7, we are checking gaming desktops for performance, upgrade options, cooling, storage, and overall value. The links are in the description and in the pinned comment. Let's start with number 7. At number 7, we have the Coten Prebuilt. This is the kind of gaming desktop people look at when they want a ready-to-use PC without choosing every part from scratch. A Prebuilt can be a smart shortcut if the processor, graphics card, memory, storage, cooling, power supply, and case airflow all make sense together. With this Coten, I would check the exact CPU and GPU combination on the Amazon page first, because those two parts decide most of the gaming performance. Then look at RAM speed, SSD capacity, Wi-Fi, included Windows version, ports, and whether the case has room for future upgrades. If you want a desktop that can get you gaming quickly while still leaving room to compare specs, this is a good starting point. I would also think about who this PC is for. If you mainly play competitive games like Valorant, Fortnite, Counter-Strike, Rocket League, or Apex, stable frame rate and cooling may matter more than chasing the highest graphics preset. If you want story games at ultra settings, then GPU power becomes the priority. Also check whether the listing clearly names the power supply and motherboard, because vague parts can make upgrades harder later. Next up is the Svery Prebuilt gaming desktop. This pick is interesting for buyers who want a full desktop tower experience, a more approachable price. With budget and mid-range Prebuilts, the most important thing is balance. A flashy case and RGB lighting are nice, but they do not matter as much as a strong enough graphics card, a modern processor, enough RAM, and an SSD that is not too small. I would also check what kind of monitor you plan to use. A PC for 1080p sports is very different from a PC for high refresh 1440p or heavy single-player games. If the specs match your games and your budget, this Svery desktop can be a practical plug-and-play option. Another thing to check is the total package. Some Prebuilts include a keyboard and mouse, some include Wi-Fi, and some focus only on the tower. Extras can be useful for a first setup, but they should not distract from the core hardware. I would also read reviews for shipping protection and setup experience, because a desktop tower can arrive with loose cables or shifted parts if packaging is weak. A quick internal check before first boot is always smart. At number 5, we have the Beastcom Q5 Pro. This one is worth comparing if you want a gaming desktop that feels more enthusiast-focused than a basic office tower with a graphics card inside. For a Prebuilt like this, I would pay close attention to the cooling layout, number of fans, cable management, memory amount, SSD space, and whether the motherboard and power supply leave room for upgrades later. A good Prebuilt should not only run games today, it should also be easy enough to maintain, clean, and improve over time. If you play games like Fortnite, Warzone, Minecraft with mods, racing games, or newer AAA titles, compare the listed GPU against your target resolution before buying. The Beastcom Q5 Pro also makes sense to compare from a longevity angle. If you want a PC for several years, 16 GB of RAM is usually the minimum I would want for gaming today, and more can help with multitasking, streaming, browser tabs, and creative apps. Storage matters too, because modern games are huge. A 1TB SSD fills up faster than people expect once Windows, launchers, recordings, and big game installs are on the same drive. Number 4 is the SDG Aubron gaming desktop. SDG Aubron Prebuilts often appeal to shoppers who want a complete gaming setup look, with lighting, a glass side panel style, and a tower that feels ready for a desk setup. The key is to look past the visual style and judge the actual components. Check the processor, graphics card, RAM, SSD size, power supply, Wi-Fi, included accessories, and what users say about noise and temperatures. This type of PC can make sense for casual gamers, first-time desktop buyers, streamers starting out, and families buying a shared gaming machine. If you want a tower that looks like a gaming PC without building one yourself, this is one of the more natural options to compare. For this SDG Aubron option, I would be extra realistic about what the listed graphics card can do. A desktop can look high-end on the outside, but the GPU decides whether it is best for 1080p casual gaming, higher refresh sports, or more demanding titles. Also check airflow around the glass side panel and front intake. Good lighting is fun, but a gaming tower also needs to breathe. Temperatures and noise affect the experience every single day. At number 3, we have the Skitec Gaming Prism 4. This is where the list moves into a more serious gaming desktop category. Skitec is a known Prebuilt brand, and the Prism line is usually aimed at people who want strong performance, a premium-looking case, and a system that can handle demanding games at higher settings. Before buying, I would still compare the exact configuration carefully. Look at the CPU, GPU, RAM amount, storage, cooling system, motherboard, and whether the case airflow makes sense. A PC like this can be a good match for high refresh gaming, streaming, content creation, and a more polished desk setup. If you want something that feels closer to an enthusiast desktop, the Prism 4 deserves attention. With the Skitec Prism 4, the monitor pairing becomes especially important. A powerful desktop is wasted if it is connected to a basic low refresh display, and a demanding 4K monitor can make even strong hardware work hard. Think about whether you want 1080p with very high frames, 540p with strong detail, or 4K visuals. I would also compare the cooling system, because higher performance parts need consistent airflow and thermal headroom during long gaming sessions. In second place, we have the MSI Codex Z2. MSI is one of the easiest brands to recognize in gaming PCs, and that can matter if you want a desktop from a company with a real gaming hardware background. The Codex line is usually built for players who want a complete tower without building from individual parts. What I like to check on a branded Prebuilt is the warranty, support, thermals, internal layout, and whether the components are standard enough for future upgrades. Also compare the GPU against your monitor. For example, 1080p high refresh, 1440p, or 4K all ask different things from the system. If you want a more established brand name in this list, the MSI Codex Z2 is a strong pick. The MSI Codex Z2 is also the kind of system where brand ecosystem can matter. Some buyers prefer a recognizable company for BIOS updates, support pages, drivers, and warranty communication. That does not automatically make it better than every smaller brand, but it can make ownership feel easier. I would still check whether the RAM, storage, power supply, and motherboard are standard components. A Prebuilt is much more attractive when future upgrades do not require replacing half the system. And at number 1, we have the Coten G60B. This takes the top spot because it fits the core idea of this list. A modern Prebuilt gaming desktop for people who want strong specs, a clean gaming tower look, and less setup stress than building a PC from scratch. The exact Amazon configuration still matters, so check the processor, graphics card, DDR memory, SSD capacity, cooling, power supply, included connectivity, and warranty details. I would also think about the games you actually play. Competitive games usually care about frame rate, while cinematic AAA games care more about GPU power and resolution. If the components line up with your monitor and your budget, the Coten G60B is the one I would compare first. For the Coten G60B, I would also compare it as a complete desk setup. Think about the monitor, headset, speakers, keyboard, mouse, Ethernet or Wi-Fi, and how much space the tower needs. A strong desktop can last longer than a gaming laptop because upgrades are usually easier, but only if the case, power supply, motherboard, and cooling are not too limiting. If you want the best long-term value, do not only ask what it runs today, ask what you can improve tomorrow. That wraps up this Value Finds Prebuilt gaming PC selection. Before choosing, compare the exact CPU, GPU, RAM, SSD, cooling, power supply, ports, Wi-Fi, warranty, and upgrade options on the Amazon page. The best desktop is the one that matches your monitor, the games you play, and whether you want easy upgrades later. Also remember that two PCs with similar names can perform very differently if the graphics card, power limits, cooling, or memory configuration changes. Read the listing carefully, check user photos, and think about total setup cost, including monitor, keyboard, mouse, headset, and desk space. A good Prebuilt should save time without trapping you in a system that is hard to maintain.